Welcome back to A Tale of Two Bros. I am Angel.
I'm Adan.
And this is our marvelous review of WandaVision. Thank you, because I had nothing. Spoilers. I just finished watching the season 1, or I guess the only season of WandaVision. Again, Doctor Strange is coming out, the Multiverse of Madness. And originally, this show was supposed to be the last of the MCU lineup leading up to Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. But due to COVID and lockdown protocols for all over the country, this show was filmed in a closed lot, pretty much. I think it was, I want to say Warner Brothers or Universal. Can't exactly remember. I just know it's the same one, like the same steps that the old Batman and Robin show with Adam West and Burt Ward. They ran up the steps to see the commissioner. It's the same one. So it's pretty much
in-house.
They use it a lot for like Dukes of Hazzard. Wonder Woman, the old one with Linda Carter, was shot some scenes there, as well as I believe Gilmore Girls. Anyway, that lot was available. And since they didn't have to travel all that much for locations like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the other shows, Loki was also in-house or in studio, where here it was just pretty much one spot. And Disney and Marvel had to get some kind of content out. WandaVision was the first of the Disney Plus MCU television series, unless you do count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's argued. A lot of people said that was not officially canon.
I personally do.
I do too, unless you want to exclude the Inhuman saga. That's also another debate.
Let's not talk about that. Did you have a chance to catch it again?
I've watched it several times before you asked me to rewatch it again. So I rewatched like the first 3 episodes, and I was like, I'm good. I remember everything.
There's 9 episodes.
Yep.
This takes place relatively after Wanda and pretty much everyone else that came from the Blip. It happened 5 years after the Blip. This whole ordeal takes a duration of around, or in a span of 2 weeks.
It's a arguably really short time frame for everything to happen from the moment of the Blip to this moment that we're watching. As the show progresses, it's moving at the pace of television time. For the characters, time is relative in TV. For us, like watching on the external, it moves so much faster. For them in the world of the TV, it's a lot slower, except for some moments.
Well, let's just go real quick in that premise for those who have not seen it or needs a refresher. Wanda has taken control of a town called Westview. And through that, she creates a life, and everyone's affected in that town that she has controlled. She has brought back Vision, is able to have 2 kids, and they live through her, in a sense, not the kids in Vision, but also the town. They feel what she's feeling, as mentioned in the last episode, is like when they sleep, or when she allows them to sleep, they have her nightmares. So they're all connected. Through her deal, I guess you could say she's dealing with depression. She's dealing with PTSD, that she's kind of reliving her childhood or her past when she was growing up in Sokovia during the war times. To escape from that and hardship, they watch television shows, which her father was selling, trying to make a buck. But we just go in the start of black and white. In each episode that we see, not each episode, but I would say the 7 episodes, definitely 6, we see where each episode is influenced by.
It's like a generational gap for each theme of the episode. And you could definitely tell, like, oh, this is based off of this time and era of television, or this style of television. As you were describing it, my mind went to, this is like the MCU version of Cable Guy.
Not just Cable Guy, but also The Truman Show.
Yeah, you can combine those two. Add a little bit of Wanda flair. Good point is what you have, be it unintentional.
In episode 1, it's influenced by the Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy. Episode 2, and episode 1 is called Filmed by a Live Studio Audience, which I'll get back to that because it made no sense. Episode 2 was Don't Touch That Dial. Influence was Bewitched, predominantly. And you can say I Love Lucy too in the mixture because it kind of blended in.
Yeah.
Then you have episode 3, which was Now in Color. That's influenced by the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch and you can say the monkeys as well. Episode 4 was We Interrupt This Program, and that was influenced by nothing because that was more of a telling of background on Monica Rambeau.
Correct.
And also other people who are catching up. Agent Wu makes his return from Ant-Man. You have Darcy. That's from
Thor and Thor Dark World.
She's in it, so helps us, the viewers, catch up to really what's happening here, what we're seeing, or what we saw in the first 2 episodes, first 3 episodes, excuse me.
Correct.
On episode 5, a very special episode that's influenced by family ties, different strokes, facts of life. You can probably even say Full House, and that goes with a sense of death because of the dog Sparky. But back then, it was pretty popular. You have one episode that is very serious, especially on a sitcom.
Yes.
Then you have episode 6, all new Halloween Spooktacular. Again, very popular with a lot of shows have focus on the holiday. And it's very popular. And
especially
that was like Malcolm in the Middle, Freaks and Geeks, Parker Lewis Can't Lose, and you can Saved by the Bell. Maybe, again, a blend of Full House. I pretty much doubt it because they're more like talking to the camera. That which started into episode 7 with Breaking the Fourth Wall, which was heavily influenced by Modern Family and The Office. And then you have episode 8, Previously On, which is pretty much a recap, but it's more of a backstory of Wanda, how she came to be, and also Agatha, letting us know that she's a witch, she has powers, she's just not a role player.
Well, like she had a role, but like it was to mislead you at stage.
And then you have episode 9, the series finale, where everything comes to an end. Seeing this, it was very painful for me, especially the first 3 episodes. It felt like a drag. Now, granted, each episode, it varied from 31 minutes, and then it got a little bit longer per episode.
Yeah.
But what killed me a lot, and you can agree, watching the first time, I was like, oh, wow, they have 45 minutes. Great. It ends with about 10 minutes of credits.
True.
And we're like, what the hell? That's a credit for a movie.
Yeah, it's a very long runtime for set credits.
But airtime of actual story building and character development or moving the story along, what we saw was just a glimpse. They could have done this whole series like they've done with the others, around 6 episodes, condensed the first 3 episodes into one, and it would have made a better story.
I mean, they really could have condensed everything down, and it would have been more fluid. The biggest thing that I would say, and you can agree or disagree on this, of all the Marvel MCU shows that we've seen, this had the least amount of action, and it was the slowest build, because everything literally, like, you'll have, something's going to pop off. Okay, cool. This is like a tense moment. And then it goes right back to where it left. Granted, I understand she was dealing with trauma and like she's like, I'm going to resolve this situation, go back to my safe spot. But we're still going through that. So it makes everything slow down so much.
True. Now, after seeing the series already and watching it again, I did notice some things in episode 1. A lot of stuff happened in episode 1 that was like telling us what's about to happen or what's really going on without telling us what's going on. You have the heart on the calendar. You have her background being her outfit, Sokovian. The boss and his wife actually breaking character while being in character.
Exactly.
Because the boss got mad and he's like, why are we here? And he hit the table and starts choking, which probably Wanda instigated accidentally.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you have the wife who's repeating, stop it, where she's actually telling Wanda to stop it.
Yeah, like, please stop it. But she can't say please. She's just saying stop it.
At first, I didn't get it. But again, after seeing the whole series before, now I'm seeing it. Moments like that, I got intrigued. When they were not doing a show or remaking a show, that something happens like serious, like where you see on the dinner table, when the boss and wife are freaking out or having their glitch.
Yeah.
Wanda and Vision can't think of their history. That was interesting to me. I was like, okay, got it. You got my attention. And then they lost it again. The acting was horrendous. in a sense of they're overacting. I understand they're trying to reenact how it was, but back then it wasn't overacting. They were just acting. They were just saying their lines. And the funny came out of that, talking about Dick Van Dyke and, well, I Love Lucy was a little more, they were going for the laughs, but it wasn't like overacting, trying to force it down your throat. Here, it felt like they were forcing their throat. Now, their first episode filmed by a live studio audience, which I find hysterical in its own right, because if you're filming from a live studio audience, there should be no laugh track. And there was laugh tracks galore.
Yeah.
They were laughing for no reason. I was like, you don't force it. I've watched shows where I know there's a studio audience, Three's Company, Friends, Cheers, things like that. The laughs are genuine. Then you have other shows where they're outside. They're not in a closed setting, but you hear laughter almost everything, especially when it's not funny, but they want you to laugh. I was getting annoyed with that. And then Don't Touch Your Dial, again, was that little bit over the top. People are, you have the audience laughing while they're outside. You have Vision who has chewed gum, and somehow him chewing gum, the gum getting into his gears, made him drunk.
The one thing about this show that I'll give is that it gives a great sense of, like, got a lot of Easter eggs for discussion. For a discussion piece, the show's good in that sense. And when you're looking at it, like, let's analyze the psyche of Wanda. And like we're saying, subconsciously, she doesn't know how Vision works. And like, and if you're looking at her trying to piece together her mind, like this right now, we're arguing is fractured because she's making up her own reality. That's the easiest thing for her to imagine, like these little cogs and wheels that are just going through, and something as simple as gum get him disoriented.
That illustration of his internals, well, his intestines, what have you. Well, she knows what he's made of, because you remember in the flashback, she goes to see him on the table, all dissected.
True, but I'm talking about, like, in your mind's going to simplify things. And unless you're like a scientist that I can analyze this in and out.
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry. She made 2 kids. It's not
She
simple.
doesn't know how she made those 2 kids.
But she made them. It's not simple. They had their own consciousness. They had their own ability to shape shift.
But that's also the same argument. And that's why I'm saying this is her mind just puts things together. She doesn't know how she did it. She's not a carpenter, yet she built a house in a town.
Well, she didn't really build the town. She just rewired it.
It's true. That everything buildings was redone from the 40s on up to the 2000s.
Right. Well, that's her imagination from what she remembers. And then, yes, and translated to that time period.
True.
But she has spent time with Vision a lot. And remember, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't seen, and we don't know what they discussed and how he was made. He probably showed her in one way or another. So she probably has that. But there are some loopholes there overall as well, not just in that. But still, like, how would he get drunk, or why would he get drunk off of gum? I just thought that his acting choice on that, it just didn't make sense. I mean, why would you be intoxicated? I understand something's in your system that you're not used to, but I just think it would have been a different...
Now, this may have been me like trying to rationalize it, but I thought it was like an influence because of Agnes, because Agnes was influencing the neighbors, who also, one of the neighbors that gave him gum was the one that she was influencing.
That was during the Brady Bunch episode that she was influencing the black gentleman.
Yeah, well, no, she had already established that she talked to him. You just didn't see the two of them together. But like, yeah, she had been in the town since episode 1, but she admitted, like, by the 9th episode that she infiltrated the town when everything popped off. It was before the boner joke.
I think 7, where, let me see, check real, because it was Agatha all along. Yeah, episode 7, Agatha all along. Did in a style of the Munsters, like the font. Yeah, we see her in episode 1 where she just comes in, she says, hi, she just introduces herself as the Mr. Furley or the co-star. Oh, Dottie in episode 2. Dottie cuts her hand because she's having a moment where she knows that she's being controlled. The glass breaks, and then they're at the talent show. Her hand's not wrapped. Her hand is all clean and better. So there's no injury there.
Yeah.
So the continuity was, maybe it was on purpose. Probably, they don't think of that back then. So they didn't think of that, why, let's just do it like they did back then. But episode 3 for me got better around 21 minutes and 36 seconds. I timed it.
Well, was it the argument?
Is when Wanda faces Monica, when they confront each other.
That was 3 or 4?
That was 3.
Oh, yeah, because the 4 was the color. Yeah,
That's
okay.
when she had the babies.
Yeah.
And then she gets kicked out, and we see her get kicked out. That's when it got good for me again, because everything else, the Partridge Family, Brady Bunch influence, I was just bored. I mean, the overacting, it was just painful. And the old shows, not the WandaVision, the old shows, because if it's filmed by a live studio audience, when the audience cheers or claps and stuff like that, the actors, they pause before they say their next line, let the applause die down, and then they go into their lines. Granted, here with technology, they probably had a laugh track, or they probably had some people, audience, they said they did. Kind of hard to believe, but they said they did. I'm sorry, that just really irked the crap out of me. And it just...
Like you said, there are moments that are great, and then it pulls you back from that greatness. So, like when you mentioned the Monica Rambeau introduction, like you find out who she is, and she gets booted out from the show, and then comes back. And then like Wanda steps out from the town, turns the soldiers on the other soldier, on the leader.
That was a really cool scene.
That was a good exchange.
Moment.
Yeah, it was a strong moment. So the show has good moments to it. Like before they introduce Quicksilver, she gets into a fight with Vision. And like he like puffs up and floats, and she's like floating too, and they're like getting ready to go down. And then all of a sudden the doorbell rings, and then we get introduced to Quicksilver, which was the biggest cock tease ever.
Hence boner.
Because that's what it turned into. It was a big boner joke.
Boner is also because of Growing Pains. Also another show that was influenced. It doesn't mean that it won't happen, because it still can happen.
True.
If it through the multiverse. But
we thought it was because of the multiverse.
Right, but it still can happen. But since he was the original, he was the original Quicksilver in the X-Men franchise, and then he used him again here. Yeah, it was a great tease. It was a great pie in the face, but I still loved it, especially in the episode 6 was my favorite episode.
That was the Halloween?
Yes.
Yeah, the Halloween was a fun episode. Absolutely.
Action-wise, for a Marvel production, action was...
All the action was essentially last episode?
The last episode. Yeah, there was a moment in episode 6 where Rambeau and Wu take down some guards, and that was like 9 seconds. In episode 9, that's pretty much all the action, and that was 8 minutes. And it wasn't really like hard action. Like the most of the action was when Vision was fighting, or fake Vision was fighting White Vision, and everything else was Agatha and Wanda casting magical spells.
Like even the kids weren't doing anything except for like one moment. And the kids have powers.
Which is cool because, again, we get introduced there. This is the show where we get introduced to the first 2 members of Young Avengers.
Yes.
And that's the kids. Then later on in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we get Bradley, the grandson. I think Loki, we get Kang. He travels in time, and he's a Young Avenger.
Well, the young version of him is.
Well, yeah.
There's a young variant of Kang who becomes a Young Avenger.
Correct. And then you have
Sylvie
and
also.
Hawkeye. Sylvie's a Young Avenger?
I think so. I think because Sylvie technically is not Loki in the MCU and the Marvel comics. Sylvie is her own character who was given powers by Loki.
Okay.
So they just merged the two. But yeah, she's too old to be young now.
Then you have Kate Bishop from Hawkeye. She's a Young Avenger.
For sure.
So that's like setting up. So we see that almost like is a transitioning of the guard.
Which makes sense if they were playing the long game.
And again, this being the first MCU series to come out on Disney Plus, it's laying down the foundation. Just like when we did the review on Doctor Strange, they laid down the foundation of what we're about to experience now.
True.
With Multiverse of Madness, or what Loki also brought back up. And then now we have the Multiverse of Madness. Well, actually, it was Far From Home first, then Loki. There's some things not answered. Maybe we'll find out in the new Captain Marvel movie or Miss Marvel. Who was Monica Rambeau talking about in the sense that she knows an aerospace engineer? Is that Reed Richards? Maybe, because we never met that engineer. We never heard of the engineer, nor his or her name.
Some people thought it was Adam Bashir.
Who's that?
The Blue Marvel.
The Blue Marvel. Oh, I'm thinking about the Blue Devil. Sorry, that's DC.
Yeah. Blue Marvel's like the Black Superman of Marvel. His power came from antimatter.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of again Icon. But that's also DC. Um, yes, my favorite episode was the all new Halloween Spectacular, and the reason why I was that because they went all out with the costumes.
Oh, they were honestly they were cheesy, but they were great cheesy.
They were cheesy, but they were like comic book accurate.
The kids had the most accurate ones.
True, but Quicksilver too, pretty much. I mean, granted, it's not a one piece, but you had the lightning bolt, you had the hair, you had Vision with his old green and red and yellow Scarlet Witch or Wanda at the moment, just how it was. Red with a cape and a crown. It was awesome. Again, at the end of episode 3, that's when the story really moved along. 1, 2, and a big portion of 3 was not really moving the story. There was question marks. There were some clues.
Also, episode 6, just to piggyback on what you're saying, it was also one of the biggest hints of what was going on too. Because that was when Vision decided to start investigating the town, and he actually tries to leave the town, and that's when we were like, Wanda really is the bad guy here, and that's what brings into question. And when they were talking about, can you just ask her so I can see my daughter? I remember that moment where he's like, what? She's like, my daughter's in her room because like she doesn't believe that other kids should be around. So I just want to see my daughter just once. And like you see a moment like that, I'm like,
was that during the Halloween? Because kids were out then. Because the Halloween episode,
because he kept walking.
No, it was before that. That was episode 5 because Vision did say to her, "I don't see any kids. I go to work, I pass a playground, and there's no kids at the playground. Where are the kids? How come we only have kids here?" Him saying that in the next episode, there's a whole bunch of kids. So I think that was said earlier in another episode because that brought to his attention about the kids.
It was Agatha that night, though.
Right. And Agatha was playing along as well from there, which kind of doesn't make sense. In this, why would she do all that and play the victim while she's pulling strings all along? I mean, you have 2 people who want 2 people. You have Agatha that's going after Wanda.
Well, didn't she say it? Like when she was explaining herself to Scarlet, she's like, I thought she hunts down other witches of a negative nature, and she was just playing the part, and because she thought this was all intentional, and then she realized it wasn't.
No, I know that, but the thing is, like, she's found by Vision at the end of the track or border, if you will, where that she's acting like she's controlled. Like, but why do that with Vision? Why not do that with Wanda? That kind of didn't make sense to me.
I feel like it's maybe like to test, like, is Vision on independent of Wanda or not? I mean, I could be thinking over it, but like, because really, obviously, the townspeople have no control, right? Unless Agatha does anything. Wanda's the source of the issue, but she's like fractured in her mind. But Vision is the only fictional character that's there that was made believe. So I feel like that's a test.
For me, though, my interpretation of this Vision was more of her subconscious.
It was definitely her subconscious, 100%.
Yeah, it's because he was like, wait a minute, what's going on? Where she is just like went full blown and made this world or worlds, because it changed every day. He was seeing things like, this is not right, because Wanda is not a bad person, but she has done a very bad thing. Well, she's done a very bad thing here. Even though Monica Rambeau doesn't think so, but she is the villain.
Which also begs the question, the guy that they try to paint as the villain, the chief of SWORD, don't get me wrong, yeah, he's a dick, 100%. But I'm like, is he really a bad guy? Like, they're like, oh, he shot kids. I'm like, those were, first of all, fake kids. They weren't real. They were made up from power and energy. Secondly, there is literally an entire town that's being enslaved by a woman who lost her mind. Granted, through traumatic means. She literally saw her loved one in pieces being operated on for experiments. So yeah, he's a dick. but I don't see him as a bad guy. And everybody's like, no, he was the bad guy. I'm like, no, Wanda was the bad guy.
No, he's not the bad guy. He does come off, again, through this series. We don't know exactly what's going on. We're learning as the episodes go on, but he's doing the proper thing. Now, maybe did he go overboard? Did he go to the extreme, like loading up that drone with a missile? Maybe.
Yes.
Because he could have put other people, he could have put the civilians in harm's way by doing that.
And you could tell there was some prejudice he had. He's like, she's a power, or it's like she has superpowers and stuff like that.
Did they use the word mutant in this one? No, not yet, right?
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't use mutant.
They had another term. I forget what it was.
Like I was saying before, like Agatha is going after Wanda. You have that. And then you have the Chief going after Vision because his thing, he wants to weaponize Vision.
Yeah.
And he does so with White Vision.
He's like the Thunderbolt Ross of WandaVision.
You have that going on too. So there's multiple stories going on. And then you're having Wu Wu's more trying to get an understanding of everything. But Monica, unfortunately, she's helping the bad guy. Go back to Star Wars. She's like, I feel the good in you. So Wanda's Vader and Monica is the...
They'll never understand the sacrifice you've made here. And da-da-da-da. I think they understand better than anybody. They literally had her mind in their minds all that time.
I had to say, though, they made a great explanation of returning from the blip.
Yes.
They did a good job there. Prior to that, for what we saw, people coming back from the blip was in...
Black Widow.
No. Spider-Man.
Also, but Black Widow also had that one moment with
right. Yeah, but it wasn't as good as here. When I'm talking about before Black Widow, we had WandaVision. You saw the body come back together. You saw the molecules connect or reconnect. First we saw with Monica. And this is from episode 4. Yes, episode 4. In Spider-Man Far From Home.
Was after. They didn't show people coming back. It was like the repercussions of afterwards.
No, they did show people. There was like a snap. It came back like quick. They just blipped back. They blipped away. Right. So I liked how they did that. And then you saw in the hospital where everyone's freaking out because they don't know what's going on. They're just there. And for her, she felt like she took a nap accidentally. Whereas her mom comes to find out 2 years ago, her mom passed away while she was blipped. But that whole scene, which was the beginning of that episode, was pretty intense, pretty crazy, but nicely done. It gave a nice explanation on that. Do you have a favorite episode?
I would say the Halloween episode, but because of the fact that I was a big fan of Loki, and I love whether it was intentional or not, that last part where they sync up, I'm going to go with the final episode.
You're going for that conspiracy theory?
Conspiracy all the way, my brother. I did like it. I because you can play the 2 episodes at the same time, and right at that same moment, both moments happen at the same sequential time, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, but that could be said about other episodes or movies too that caused it.
This is true, but did it time perfectly? No, this one did. They've gone on record and said it's not intentional, but the fact that it would just happen to be that way was kind of cool. Setting that aside, though, the Halloween episode is the best episode.
It gives a lot of information without giving a lot of information. You know, we see that fake Quicksilver or fake Pietro. He's trying to figure out Wanda. He's asking all these questions. You know, later on we find out that all he is a messenger to Agatha to get more information that
he's like an actor, struggling actor.
Right, but that's on the last episode. But I'm talking about in the Halloween one, he's asking questions. They have a sit down, him and Wanda, and he's just saying, how do you do it? What's going on? Like, how's it possible? He's asking questions that would not set up red flags as if Agatha was asking those questions until Agatha then did. Well, she kidnaps the kids and her doing interrogation on episode 8. Until then, Wanda was called Wanda. She had no code name. She had no alias. And at the end of episode 8, Agatha calls her the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And that was a great cliffhanger. I'll give it that. Even though I think the show overall it had some really good moments, and to do that and to finally put a stamp on her with that name was great.
Oh yeah.
I do have a problem with her parents because for those who don't know, Magneto is her father.
Oh, I should let you know they revised that in the comments a bit. So he's not her biological.
Whatever. What about
yeah.
So
they made it official that Polaris was his biological daughter, and that the two of them are like his adoptive kids. So he still raised them.
Because why? Because Polaris has magnetic abilities. That's why it's officially his daughter.
No, like there was a genetic thing that they did. They kept a lot of the same origins. It's just that she was more. Her and Pietro were more adopted. I think they changed it because they felt like they needed to make that like the MCU. You know how like MCU will do something in the comics, will make that change to adapt it. I honestly feel like that's why they did that. It sucks because you and I grew up with her like being, that's my daddy.
It was a great story because they fought so hard to not be like him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's how it is now. Great. Granted, it's better than the Ultimate line version.
The Ultimate version went pretty bad.
They went all incestual with them.
Except for, no, not him. Not Magneto, just...
No, I'm talking about
the twins.
The twins, yes, the twins. And then through somehow she got attracted to Vision. And then that story went back to how it was. But yeah, those two were
then she
getting
died.
it on. I was like, oh.
I mean, it did lead into like a really cool moment in the Ultimates that was like really crazy. That like the twins get killed and he goes crazy and then like he tries to destroy the world for mutants. It was like a really crazy thing.
Who did, Magneto or Vision?
Magneto. It was called the Ultimatum. He basically turned the world on its axis and made it like the day after next kind of situation. And then everybody was killing everybody. It was crazy. But Ultimates is a whole beast in itself.
Yes. I mean, that's where they got Sam Jackson as Nick Fury.
That's where they got Miles Morales.
Exactly right.
And it has inspired a lot of the MCU movies and characters like Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. They're all really influenced by Ultimates, in all honesty.
Oh, yeah. Captain America's costume in World War II.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we both like
episode
the Halloween episode. I think we already discussed what we didn't like, and that was episode 1, 2, and 3. These episodes could have been
condensed.
They could have been more honest with the runtime.
Or add that skip function. They have that now.
What do you mean?
Like I was watching Doctor Strange, and the credits came in, and he goes, skip the credits.
No, I know that.
And go right to the end credits post scene.
Not about that, but the thing is, when you set up the episode and say you want to read the episode and say, what's it about? And there's a timestamp on it or a runtime, and it says 34 minutes. Oh, good. So I'm looking about 32, 31 minutes of show. Then I come to find out it's only 24 minutes of show instead of 31 like I thought. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because it gave so much of the credits there that I just kept getting mad. Especially when I saw like a 55-minute episode, I was like, "Oh, okay, good. They're really gonna." And then no, it's like what? And I'm like 3 episodes had end credits, right? No, the last episode had 2 end credits. Then you have the one end credit where Monica Rambeau is snooping around and she gets caught by
that's episode 8.
Fake Pietro. And then you also have the Chief bring in White Vision. And then on episode 9, there's 2 where we see Wanda out in the woods, where she has the ability, unlike Doctor Strange, she has the ability to be in an astral plane as well, being alive or active. Monica Rambeau is being, for us, it could be a hint to the Skrull invasion coming up, or it could be a series, Ms. Marvel or the Marvels coming up, because we all know that Monica Rambeau becomes Photon, who originally in the comic books was Captain Marvel.
That always bothered me.
Why?
Well, no, it didn't bother me that she was Captain Marvel. It bothered me that she wasn't Captain Marvel. And like, to me, that when I grew up reading the comics, she was the first Captain Marvel I read about. And then I found out there was a guy Captain Marvel.
A girl Captain Marvel. And then her.
Well, then there was Ms. Marvel after her. But then even before that, there was another Marvel before even that. So
Oh,
Carol Danvers is like the last Captain Marvel, in all honesty.
actually,
there
no,
was
she's first. She's actually before Monica.
no, she was Ms. Marvel.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And then
Yes,
Monica
yes,
became Captain. And then even before Carol became Captain as well, there was also Genisville, the son of Captain Marvel. And even Genisville had a sister who became Captain Marvel as well.
You know, I got confused a lot with Quasar.
Yeah, because
he had the
looked
same.
he looked the same.
Well, he had the same bands.
He had the nega bands, right?
I just can't remember right now. But
there's the quantum bands and the nega bands. And I think Captain Marvel had the quantum bands.
Okay. But they look the same.
They were essentially the same, but one just channeled energy from the quantum verse, and then the other energy from the negaverse, the negative zone. They basically do the same things.
Now, here's one thing. Monica goes back in. Her vehicle that she got made starts to get rewritten, and we see it gets pushed out. So it's half of a pickup truck and half of the original vehicle.
Yeah.
Right? How come she was not rewritten? Meaning her clothes.
I have no idea.
Her astronaut or NASA suit would have been rewritten. Her undergarments, the color scheme that of Photon, that would have been rewritten as well. But it didn't. And I'm like, hello, people, let's be consistent here. And we come to find out why that heart is there. How come they're going to buy a house? They found land, obviously, because she drove to where they were going to get a home. But prior to the blip, they were hiding. They were running from the law.
Mm-hmm.
We see that they're overseas when they get attacked in Infinity War.
True.
So they're hiding, and she's gotten blip too.
Yeah.
So when did they buy that land?
I thought it was before they went.
Right, but it would have been over 5 years.
Yeah.
Nothing got built over 5 years. That same property.
If they didn't contract someone to build into that area, yeah. Yeah, no, there's areas.
But the surrounding area, come on, 6 years and
the surrounding area, that I can't answer that.
That got developed. But I'm saying that house, and when they were hiding, we know that 5 years passed on the blip.
Yeah.
How long were they hiding? That could be another year to 2 years.
Yeah.
Depending on how the time frame, I don't know exactly, but I'll say 2 years they're on the run. But the land is still there. I mean, not even built, just partial. The foundation is built, and it stays there. I was like, I don't know. She opens the paper, and there's a heart for where we can grow old together.
Yeah, maybe Vision originally wanted to build it himself, like a true man, out of his 2 iron hands.
Maybe.
I mean, technically, he could have. He was
right,
strong.
Yeah, I know that, and he's a computer, so he'll know how to do it.
But again, that's reading into a lot. Yeah. Overall, because we could probably end up still talking about this for another hour. This show, let's give it a rate.
Just because it is connected to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it's worth watching. It is hell of a no of worth buying.
Fair. Granted, I don't know if they're going to reference the town in Multiverse of Madness. Supposedly they're not supposed to. If you're not going to reference the town, it's not important. You can skip it.
It's not about the town. It's about her becoming the Scarlet Witch.
Fair.
It's about her finding out who she really is. Again, in the previous episodes where Agatha is forcing her to relive her past, her memories, she has the power. She doesn't know how she has it, and it's called chaotic magic or chaos magic.
Chaos magic.
And the stone intensified it.
On that note, then, I would say if you're going to watch Multiverse of Madness, then yes, it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch, especially if you've never seen it before and you like to get Easter eggs and discuss. Can you skip the first 3 episodes? Yes. You can start from episode 4 and be just fine. I will make that argument.
Personally, I would say start with episode 3.
You can shave off 2 to 3 episodes. From the beginning.
Definitely. I mean, if you don't really care about her kids or how they came to be,
I mean,
fine.
You could even shave off more by that point.
Well, episode 3 is when, at the end of episode 2, we see that she's pregnant.
That's true.
And then at episode 3, she's pregnant, and it just advances. Yeah, it gives within a day.
Yeah,
or 2 days.
Now, is it worth a buy? Obviously, if you got Disney Plus, it's not really an argument. But if they came out with it on Blu-ray or DVD, I wouldn't.
Well, and they did.
They did put it on DVD?
Remember, not everyone has Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We have Disney Plus. We have Disney Plus because we're geeks like that.
Mm-hmm. We have no kids. We're just watching ourselves.
And they put in there with the stuff I like, the behind the scenes stuff, and I saw the behind the scenes stuff, and it made me angry.
They get you every time.
Some more.
So, due to the listing lineup, remember the WandaVision wasn't supposed to be first in line for the MCU shows. Do you think it would have helped if it was like the first time watching right before Multiverse of Madness for the experience of the show? After everything else that we've seen, it would have been a better experience watching it that way.
I believe so. Especially, say, like they're doing now with Moon Knight, and they've done with other series since Loki, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They've been premiering on Wednesday and having every new episode on a Wednesday, and say the order switched and WandaVision was now, and they ended the finale on that Wednesday, and then the Multiverse of Madness is, you can see it Thursday or Friday. That'll be ideal. Remember, she's a villain.
She ends as a villain. Whether or not she stays as a villain or carries over as a hero, that's left to be seen. She
started as a villain, really, in the series.
Yeah, Age of Ultron.
Talking about here, this series, she was a villain.
Yeah, no, but
from the get-go.
Age of Ultron, she was a villain, became a hero, and then she's back to a villain.
Right, but it would have made more sense. Granted, I'll probably still be angry with the first 3 episodes.
And the boner.
Say they came out Falcon and Winter Soldier first, right? They just boom. They just get us reacquainted with the characters or remind us what happened. Then you have Hawkeye as well.
Mm-hmm.
We see what happens there, and we get excited because Kingpin is in that. Then we see Loki, that's talking about multiverse and break the chains and the time loops and all that stuff. Then we see Spider-Man, No Way Home. Remember, all the stuff got readjusted.
Yeah, it all got reshuffled.
Because of COVID. As for ranking, as of now, Loki is top, Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision.
Actually, it surprised me because if I remember correctly, I thought you had Hawkeye lower on the bar.
Hawkeye is underneath Loki. Loki is amazing.
Yeah. So for me, Loki is my number one. I do love me some Loki. For me, my pecking order is like rewatchability. What can I watch over and over again and still be entertained? WandaVision is fun, but she is at the bottom of my list as far as rewatchability. Once you get through the spoilers and you know what's going to happen and whatnot, the impact and the feel of the show just doesn't hit the same.
It feels like it drags.
Yeah, and like I could literally skip some parts. For me, I did find more enjoyment out of Hawkeye than I did for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Nothing wrong against that. That was an excellent show. It's just that I like a little bit more humor. Hawkeye had a little bit more humor. I got some Easter eggs. Falcon and Winter Soldier had some good talking points. And it's like when they were talking about red, white, and black storyline, I was like blown away that they even brought that up. So when we say this pecking order, it's not because we're like, this is actual dog garbage. No, we're just saying like of what we've been given is what we like. There's been really good moments in all these shows, in all honesty. On that note,
have you said it yet? Because you gave the high, you gave the low, but where's Hawkeye and Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I said it's the same as yours. So yeah, Hawkeye's above Falcon and Winter Soldier. But all in all, guys, Multiverse of Madness is around the corner. If you haven't watched WandaVision yet, yeah, go ahead and watch it. You may want to skip an episode or two, but check it out. Get the better idea of what's going on. It'll probably sit better with you now if you haven't watched it, going right into Doctor Strange. So check it out.
I mean, if you already saw it, episode 1 does have a lot of information. It's foretelling. It's like the foreshadowing of what's going to come, or you're going to see it down the line. But it's just so draining and so slow. It's just
like we said, like in comparison of all the MCU shows, this has the least action.
Right. Oh, we still don't know who Agent Wu was looking for.
No, that was Boner.
That was the missing person?
I thought it was.
I thought it wasn't clear.
I thought he was on witness protection or something like that.
But anyway, guys, thank you for joining us for another marvelous review. That was WandaVision. If you have a favorite moment, favorite episode, or a moment you disliked, please let us know on the comments below. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adan.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.